At this point in the build, you better have your servo picked out. How's it going, everybody? Phoebus Byron here, the Leisure Geek. Yes, update on my YOKOMO BD10 build, bags 11 through 15. Really simple and straightforward for this section of the build, getting closer to the end. And yeah, let's get into the bags and talk about each one, starting with bag number 11. So bag number 11, we're basically talking about the steering linkages, the center link, the bell cranks, and also the servo horn. But as I said in the intro, at this point, because we're dealing with the servo horn, you may want to have already picked out your servo. And in bag number 12, in the next step, they talk about the servo that you need to pick for this build is a low profile servo. I'll get into that after this section, this bag 11. But again, at this point, you may want to have your servo, your low profile servo picked out. But for bag number 11, the steering linkages, straightforward. So we've got the vehicle here. Here you go. You can see it's pretty much almost done. Obviously need the electronics, the tires, and the body, but for as much of the mechanical parts, it's all pretty much there. So for the steering linkages down here, what I did for this step is basically I put everything together. I mounted the bell cranks onto the center link, and also built out the turnbuckles. And again, most important thing is when you're doing the turnbuckles is to pop in the ball studs first, as well as pre-thread you can say the carrier hubs here. So I pre-threaded the hubs here. So after putting all that together, carefully slid the whole assembly through the bottom here, and then mounted everything. But yeah, for this step, you can put everything together. Again, just make sure you pop. The most important thing is to pop the ball studs into the parts right away, and then also pre-thread the carrier hubs. That way it's easy to mount everything. And yeah, pretty straightforward. But as I mentioned, for bag 12, we're talking about the servo, and you can say the servo bracket, because that's going to be all mounted, and actually the servo is going to be mounted on the servo horn. So let's talk about that right now. For bag number 12, we're basically mounting the servo, the low profile servo, onto the chassis, as well as mounting the servo horn from bag 11 onto the servo. Now for selecting, or what I did when selecting the servo, pretty straightforward. Just did some research online and saw what was available and what maybe you can say one driver used for his vehicle. I did find a link to a basic setup, someone that is using the current YOKOMO BD10 for, you can say, carpet racing. And yeah, I just pretty much took a look at it, did some research, and the servo got good reviews, and I decided to just get it. The servo I picked was the ProTech RC. Part number is PTK-160SS. The most important thing about this servo, again, it has to be a low profile servo, as recommended or as required for this build. So yeah, put it together. One thing that's also important too is that when mounting the servo, grab this again. When mounting the servo onto the bracket, there is a little bit of play, you can say, between the washers and the screws. You do want to also try to push the servo as much as you can towards the outside of the vehicle. The reason being is that if it's pushed a little bit more towards inward, as the servo horn is turned and there's a throw, this linkage here, if the servo is inwards a little bit, it will actually hit you can say the upper deck. So you want to be able to move it as far as you can towards the outside and then mount everything. And then you should have basically you should see this one servo, or this one link, this turn, you can say the servo link to the center link. It should be able to go underneath the top deck. So yeah, just kind of something I had to redo and think about, and yeah, had to figure that out on my own. So yeah, have your servo picked out right away. Again, has to be low profile. Do some research, had some good reviews, and decided to go with the ProTech. Is it going to help me be better? Not sure, but again, I want to get a servo that, one, people are using, and two, obviously good reviews, and three, quality. So looks like there's a quality servo, and we'll see in the future here. So okay, so that's bag 12. Let's go on to bag number 13. As I mentioned in the previous step, we're talking about the upper deck, which is in bag 13. So the upper deck is right up here on the top. So straightforward, and I did have to kind of twist the upper deck and turn it a few times just to get everything to, you can say, slide into position. It wasn't as easy as it's made out to be in the manual, but again, got in there pretty good. To mount it, I'm using the standard screws. I'm not using the aluminum screws, and I actually mounted, used all the screws on the, you can say, on the center post and also on the bulkhead. So it is also not recommended, but for tuning the vehicle and depending on the situation, you can actually remove the screws from the center post. So at this time, I'm just putting on there. Again, haven't raced or driven this vehicle before, so we'll see how it handles first off as you can say, on a stock or just the basic build setup. So yeah, there you go. Upper deck. All right, back now to bag number 14. Bag number 14, we're talking about the shock build. Couple things here. One, the oil that comes with the shock oil that comes with the kit, really small. So I decided to buy you can say an equivalent shock oil done by Team Associated, the factory team oil. And at the bottom here, it says the 350. And from what I've read, it's almost close to the equivalent. But again, decided to use this instead, and yeah, put this in the shock bodies. Also, because there is a big, you can say, opening to pour in the shock oil into the shock, what I did was I was actually able to take the tip from this. You can actually remove this tip here. And get here. You can actually remove the tip and then insert it into that hole. So it basically kind of acts like you can say a funnel. So that's the one thing I had to do for this. Trying to pour that shock oil straight from the bottle got a little messy. So using the removable tip from the smaller bottle definitely helped. Also, for the shock build, I did see a YOKOMO BD10 driver who recommended for this build to upgrade one part, and that is the shock mounting ball. So I bought two sets of 4. Obviously, you need it for both front and rear sets. So up on the front here, the mounting points on the top and the bottom, as well as on the rear, the mounting points on the top and the bottom. So that's you can say the one upgrade that I definitely did for the shock build. Was it easy? Definitely not. There are some, it is tough to, again, work with the oil and make sure you get all the air bubbles to you say, to dissipate and come out of the fluid itself. So you have to wait for the bubbles to all disappear. Also, having to clamp down on the shaft, I grabbed, I'm sorry, you wouldn't know, but I just grabbed a pair of pliers, applied some pressure, making sure not to damage the shock shaft, and getting the, you can say, the ball end, the plastic ball end onto the bottom, and screwing that on. So a couple things you do have to be aware of is that one is that part of the installation is not damaging the shaft as you're putting the plastic end with the ball, with the shock mounting ball onto the shock. So also, as usual, you want to just pop in those shock mounting balls into the bottom end and the top end prior to completing the shock. So yeah, wasn't as easy, and I do remember having troubles in the past with building shocks, but yeah, just took my time and was able to complete it. So all right, that's bag number 14 shocks. Let's go to bag number 15. Bag number 15, we're basically at the end here. We're talking about the front bumper assembly as well as you can say the body post. So we're talking about the rear body posts here and the front body post in combination with the front bumper. Just as a tip, again, you want to, because these are plastic parts, slowly pre-thread the parts with the screws that you're going to use to mount everything. And yeah, just take your time because these are, soft. It's like a soft plastic. Because it's soft plastic, you don't want to over thread and basically damage the part itself. So take your time as you're mounting and putting in the screws. And once you start to feel a little bit more of you can say tension, and it gets a little bit harder to tighten down the screw, you may want to stop. Don't go any further. Again, you don't want to damage the thread and just lose the part. So yeah, that's bag number 15. And I think at this point we are done for the most of, you can say, the main chassis, the main mechanical portion of the YOKOMO BD10. Everything else here from this point on is the motor, speed control. We already have the servo, batteries, and some other things such as a fan, and also you can say it's a timing. It's like a timing module to help keep track times when you're racing. So I don't know the name of it off the top of my head right now, but yeah, that's pretty much it, you can say. Yeah, I got to get the tires. I have a plastic body, working on some designs for it, but yeah, it's so far so good, and we will see more. I'll keep you updated on, obviously the completion of the build, and yeah, getting this onto the road and testing it out. So that's bags 11 through 15. I won't cover bag number 16 because it's more for the electronics portion of it. And I won't, for my next video, it's not gonna, as I did in the previous video, go over each bag, like bag number 11 is this, bag number 12 is this, and so on and so forth. So I think I'm pretty much done mechanical wise for this build. Everything now is just electronics and setup, bodies, and tires. So yeah, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. If you like this content, yeah, please hit the like button, subscribe. Please support my channel. Again, I like to geek out on a lot of things. RC cars, a little bit of Star Wars, a little bit of MCU, talk about some tech here and there. And obviously part of this is, I'm taking videos, and I also have photography. Photography's always on my mind, but right now I'm just trying to get into other geek stuff, you can say. But I do appreciate it. Again, Phoebus Byron here, the Leisure Geek. And oh yeah, there's also the notification bell if you want to get notified on all my videos that comes out. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next, you can say, build follow-up and yeah, update. All right, we'll talk to you soon.